Why, hello there. Canadian Fuhrer beaten once again. You're slipping, Canadian Fuhrer. You're slipping. Hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, hi, hi. You snagged some Marshall Manson merch? Sick. Sick. Biden won't penalize Saudi Arabia. Okay. Whatever. Hello, hello. I'd say right now my professional life is about at a 9 or a 9.9. Is this pre-recorded? No. No. Bro, I'm so sick of hearing Vosh, Biden, Vosh, Biden, Biden, Vosh, Biden, Vosh, Biden, Biden, Vosh, Vosh, Voshity, Vosh, Biden, Biden. Yeah, I mean, me too. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? This is death recorded. This is Paul from the afterlife. It sucks just as bad as the before life. Brother, can you spare a Vosh? Hi, Paul. I just watched the Ocean Megafauna episode of DFF, and it was awesome. Good work, man. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I love doing those types of episodes. Neoliberalism is the only way. Oh, I'll show you guys what I did today. Well, I had to go so quickly because this got delivered. I have wood again. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I have wood. I got wood. What does the shirt say? It says, free words of wisdom. And then it's got Yoda. And here, I'll read you the words of wisdom. May the force be with you. Do or do not. There is no try. Size matters not. That's a good one. You must feel the force around you. Yes. Fear is the path to the dark side and the mind killer. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. That's a famous Yoda. Always in motion is the future. Yes. Mind what you have learned. Save you it can. Yes. You must learn to control. You must learn control. And then the dark side clouds everything. Impossible to see the future is. Named must your fear be. Before banish it you can. Jesus, it gets worse as you go. It gets more Yoda as you go. Yeah, I used my immaculate physique to chop all this wood by hand with an axe today. Chop. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I didn't buy this wood to not use it, and I'm not gonna be here forever. So it's Campfire City from here on out, man. Campfire a night. Oh, yeah, I didn't. I went to the doctor that prescribes it, but didn't take it. I'm an idiot.
You're not an idiot. Just get some alarms or something.
I'm terrible at taking pills. I have pills that I'm supposed to take. God damn it, I'm old. I have to pills run my body now. If I don't take my fucking pills, you should get your fire going. You should. I mean, it's not, I don't really need a fire, but our barrel had got filled up with some trash. So I threw a couple logs on it and started that up so we could burn off some of the trash in there.
You show them the stack.
Yeah. Showed him the stack of destiny. It's half a cord of wood, give or take. It's probably a little more than half a cord of wood, honestly. So I've got a lot of burning to be doing.
Darn, we're sleepy.
Yes. He helped a lot. He stacked a lot of wood today. He's a working pup. He stacked a lot of wood. Just looking at me like. I always thought this wasn't live since the title is just backwards from the last stream. Ah ha ha. Fooled you. Fooled you. Gotcha. How's that song It's a Sin go? It's a sin
My darling,
that I love you.
There's
Yeah.
also another one that's like, it's a sin.
There's two It's a Sin songs. Yeah. You're right. It's pre-recorded. Paul is just a master of prediction and knows what people would say. Yep. The devil is a lie. Bitch, I'm the truth. The devil is a lie. Bitch, I'm the proof.
There's too many It's a Sin songs.
It's a sin, my darling, that I love you. That's the best one. TJ would die if he was Tom Hanks in Castaway. So would you. Like, nobody is, like, very few people are Tom Hanks in Castaway, okay? Like, you'd die too. You're not going to float to fucking rescue with your volleyball. Act like you got any better chance than TJ do.
I bet TJ would last longer without food than most people.
That's true. TJ's got fat stores. So do I. Wilson, I'm sorry. You're built different, yeah. You and everybody else on the internet, bro. You and everybody else on the interwebs is built different. You're a total unit, yeah. Gorilla arms, yep. Weird, I got a notification for your last stream, but not this one. I think I might have confused YouTube, too. I just swapped around some words in my stream. Whatever, I don't care. The smart ones and the ones that deserve to be here will figure it out, and the ones that don't will end up watching the other stream and not know it. They'll be commenting on it and shit. That's cute. Any faves amongst Daft Punk's albums? Not really. TJ could run into a random tribe and they see how tall and white he is and make him their god. Yeah, that's true. Like, I know in, like, the Polynesian islands and stuff, like, being fat is kind of, like, supposed to be hot. Like,
you would tower over all of them.
Yeah, it's true. I'd be like, and fat as fuck too, dude. I'd be like an Adonis over there. But, yeah, no. Here I'm just a lump of clay. Just a lump of dough.
Well, it's a cute lump of dough.
Well, thank you. Segmentus, god of fat. Yes. TJ in a grass skirt and coconut bra would be sexy as hell. You think so? Dude, it kind of would, yeah. Because TJ's got like ample titties. So he could put he could fill out a coconut bra. You know what I mean? He's got some ample boobage going on there. And then like the grass skirt, if he did like the hula maneuver, the segments would go at this, you know. Yeah, dude. It's been too long since I've seen TJ's bobs. I'm gonna have to tell him to pull them out on the next show.
Yeah.
Show bobs.
Shirtless show.
Yep. I'll do it if he does it.
Scotty to do it at some point.
Dude,
Scotty's been afraid.
Scotty doesn't play along. Scotty is the fucking guy that stands apart. You pull your shirt off, Scotty doesn't. You do a drag show, Scotty doesn't.
Maybe like if you do a quiz show with them, be like, Scotty, you get 10 points.
Strip.
Take it off.
Oh yeah, strip. We can do a strip poker, a strip game show. That'd be funny. No, Scotty probably just has standards. He's probably like, I'm not gonna get naked on fucking stream. Me and TJ don't care, you know. He's the modest Kirk, yeah. He got the full dose of modesty and TJ got none. He's got 2 brothers worth of modesty and TJ has 0, you know. And I'm modest, but not that much, you know. I'm somewhere between the two. I got 1 scoop of modesty. TJ got 0. Scotty got 2. See it? Balance. It's balance on the show. Stevie is so modest, it's crazy. Yep. Stevie's a very polite, very kind of like soft-spoken individual in real life. A genuine, nice person. Very rare in the world. Most nice people are just kind of like, I don't know how to put it. They're socially nice, you know what I mean? Oh, hey, how have you been? Oh, how's the family? Oh, how's this? How's that? You know. Disingenuous nice, yeah. I never knew TJ's dad, and neither did you, so I wouldn't be able to say which one of the brothers is more like their dad. He prefers to speak in whispers to the forge and hear its crackling ascent. Yes, that's true. Stevie would make a fucking killer-ass fucking blacksmith, too. I could see it. I could see Stevie making fucking weapons of cold steel. Slice a man in half with a Stevie weapon. Do you think there are areas of the country that are nicer than other areas, or is everyone just the same in every area of the country? I mean, like, you can't really generalize. There are things about every area of the country that I've been that are the same as every other area. And there are very distinct cultural differences to different areas. So it's like one of the things that's always the same no matter where you go is that most people are assholes. No matter where I've lived, that has always remained true. Most human beings are assholes. And it's best not to have anything to do with them. But, you know...
the South, they'll use more kind words in greeting, I think.
If you're the right color. Yeah. If your skin is the right shade down south, there is like a southern hospitality thing that exists down there. But it is very much contingent upon you meeting a certain acceptability. And part of that, a lot of it, at least, and a lot of the white community in the South has to do with you being another white person. Okay. So I don't know. There's less of that in other places that I've lived. Like I would say like the least racist place that I've ever lived in my entire life, the area that I felt like there was the least racism, interestingly enough, was Arizona. The Phoenix area is such a melting pot of different cultures all over the United States. It's a total transplant city. So like everybody in the Phoenix area is from somewhere else in the world, and they moved to. I mean, maybe not everybody, but there's a meme in Arizona that you never meet a native Phoenician. Like there's no such thing as a native Phoenician. People that grow up in Phoenix tend to move out of it, and the people that live in Phoenix tend to be people that have moved from other areas of the country. So it makes it a very colorful, mixed area. Now I'm not saying there was no racism in Arizona. Joe Arpaio was the fucking sheriff of Maricopa County while I lived there, and he's a fucking piece of shit. There were racist people in Arizona. I'm not saying that there's racist people everywhere. What I'm talking about is the cheek by jowl functionality of Arizona felt less racist than anywhere that I've been. Like when I lived in Bellevue, I felt like if I were a black person walking around in Bellevue, that I'd probably be hassled.
Well, like, we went out to Eastern Washington once, like, my mom and stepdad, and, like, Eastern Washington, like, they looked at my stepdad, like...
They're like they'd never seen a black person in their life. It's like, what the fuck? So yeah, man, there's like nowhere you can go to escape that kind of thing, but it's pronounced in the South in a way that it isn't. The division lines are way more visible and way more clear in the South than they are anywhere that I've lived. But yeah, that's and the area of the South that we moved out of, well, it's right adjacent to New Orleans, which is this huge kind of melting pot of culture. But just over the fucking lake is where we lived, and that's like White City, do a diddy. Literally just got my taxes on stream. Gonna buy a car for the first time in 2 years, and I feels good. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Although your taxes will be less exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Paying taxes on the car will be less exciting too. You should get a windowless creeper van. Huh? Huh? Say what, Sonny? Yeah, Eastern Washington is not the most welcoming for darker skinned people. Most of the United States is not the most welcoming for darker skinned people. Let's be fucking real and honest. Like when you're talking, I'm not talking about maybe the most population dense areas, because those tend to be big mixing, kind of racially mixed areas. But you go anywhere outside of the main population zones, and being a black person is like not, and even in the main population zones, because so many black people are generationally fucking impoverished and live in fucking horrible areas. I mean, like the Watts riots in LA, we've talked about these riots, and the riots in the 1990s to a certain extent were about the mistreatment of black people right in the midst of one of the biggest fucking cities in America. In fact, the biggest city in America, if you count it for square mileage and population. So it's like, there's nowhere in this kind of, and this is why I don't understand why there are people who are questioning or critical of the idea that like black people still have a long way to go before there's anything like equality in this country. Like there are people who just cannot be convinced that black people have it worse than white people, because there's no longer slavery, and there hasn't been for 100 years or 150 years or whatever the fuck it is. 200 years.
It's like I've heard of people like not only just being pulled over because they were black, but like wasn't it like Galen, like his car looked black or something?
Yeah, Galen tells a story about he was driving in New Orleans, and he had a car that was like, I think he said it was like an old Cadillac or something. And he got pulled over, and the guy was shocked when he came up to the window, and it was a white guy. And he basically just told him like, "Oh, go on ahead, boy. Go on ahead, son. Sorry about that." He just pulled him over because it looked like the type of a car that a black dude would be driving around or whatever. Like that type of shit. It's like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, we watched that fucking video on the last Flash Fried that was just like harrowing. It's literally a dude in an empty area of town jaywalking, and it ends with 2 cops holding him down on the ground and shooting him to death. Fucking insane. If that dude was a white guy, 90% chance that didn't happen to him. 90% chance they just drove on by and let him fucking jaywalk. See, that's what I'm talking about. Black folks have made advances. They have. It is better now to be a black person in America than it was to be a black person in America 60 years ago or 70 years ago. But that doesn't mean that they have attained anything like equality.
Yeah, like it wasn't, I think, until the 60s where like interracial marriage was legal.
I think the last miscegnation law in the United States was struck down in the 70s,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Mississippi. So we're talking about like just a couple of years before I was born, the United States got rid of its last miscegnation law, which it was prevented black people and white people from marrying.
I guess 67 is when the court decision was.
Oh, 67, yeah.
Supreme Court.
So just ridiculous, guys. Your grandparents were alive when they were still ex-slaves living in the United States. It wasn't very long ago, yeah. It's better to be black in the U.S. than somewhere else. Well, it depends on where you're at, right? And depends on your perspective. I think Mississippi still puts it on the ballot, if possible. Mississippi. That's literally not true. I don't know. I don't live in Mississippi. My mom and grandparents had black servants in old Portuguese colonies. I mean, yeah.
Like Richard Dawkins was born in South Africa while it was still apartheid.
Yep. I mean, we're not that many fucking generations away from, you know, the upper crusty. I mean, there are still fucking rich people being waited on hand and foot by black and Hispanic and Asian people. You know what I mean? But it was not that long ago where that was pretty much the only job a black person could get, was being a servant of some kind, or some kind of horrible, tragic type of job like cleaning the sewers or whatever the fuck.
Sharecropping.
Sharecropping, yeah. Ridiculous. So, live with a black foster family for 3 years. People would be like, why these black people have 2 white boys with them? They were the best foster parents I ever had. See?
I mean, I agree with you, Brianna. Like, South Africa ain't great right now either. It's obviously apartheid should have gone, but they didn't have the structure afterwards.
No, I mean, like you don't have an apartheid state and then strike that down and then have everything go hunky-dory. It's still fucking wildly segregated in South Africa. There's still tons of racism, and there's still tons of racial violence there, as white people feel that black people have laid claim to traditionally white areas and blah 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 blah. There's all this shit is still going on. That's why I'm saying, like, this, you know, this generational problem of racism, it doesn't go away overnight. And one of the ways that I can see it being challenged is something that we were talking about earlier today, which is contact theory in the workplace. But certainly pretending that it doesn't exist isn't working. Pretending that everything's fine, pretending that black people have all the tools that they need and have equal footing in society, and this is not working. African countries are super corrupt and controlled by dictators. Sad. Yeah, I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that Africa has been used like a big chess piece amongst the European powers for pretty much, 200-300 years now.
We're just like a little pot of gold.
French Guiana, fucking Togo, fucking Dutch colonies, fucking British colonies. I mean, come on. Installed puppet dictators, implicit or explicit support for horrible, horrible people to keep the peace, constant shuffling around of leadership, constant state-backed coups. All of these things, like Africa is a fucking mess by and large because it's a colonial continent and has been for hundreds of years. Africa was doing okay before, we started fucking it up. And when I say we, I mean Europeans. Oh, shit, look. Do you see him?
God, yeah.
Isn't he beautiful?
Jeez. It's a big fat boy.
Yeah. He snatched a rat.
Oh.
Do you see that shit?
Yep.
Crazy, dude.
You better watch out for them hawks, Steve.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, he snatched like a squirrel or a rat, man, right there. It was that red-tailed hawk.
He just plopped down, looked about as big as a cat, if not more.
He was at least like the size of a fucking cat.
Mm-hmm.
And he fucking came down, plopped down, killed something right there in the grass that was roaming around in the grass and flew off with it. Looked like about the size of a rat or a squirrel or a gopher or something. That's fucking crazy. Whew. Dude, so much of this shit happens while I'm streaming. Did I tell you the other day I saw him snatch a bird out of the air?
Uh-uh.
Dude, on the stream.
Yeah.
I was sitting here and I watched him fly. And there was this little flock, like not flock, but there were 3 little small birds like this dude flying. And he was in midair, just like snatched one and flew off with it. I was like, fuck. Happened just now, yeah. A red-tailed hawk just now caught a piece of prey right here in my backyard. Sat on the ground for 25 seconds, killing it, making sure that it wouldn't struggle in the air, and then flew off with it. Crazy. Oh yeah, those will kill a chicken for sure. I mean, I don't think they'd make a strike on Dinor, but if he was like fucking Marley.
Yeah. If he was like the size he was supposed to be.
Yep. If
size.
Dinor was yay big like he was supposed to be, he wouldn't be running around out there. I'll tell you that much. Especially not after seeing that. Dude, that hawk is big, too. Did you see how big he was?
Yeah. Fuck. I said like the size of a cat just based on his head and how far away he was.
Yeah, he was big, man. Whew. That was beautiful. Beautiful animal, too.
Maybe like a 3-foot wingspan minimum. Maybe more.
I'd say 3 feet.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe 2.5 feet at the minimum. Maybe more than 3 feet. There's been 3 hawk attacks on my ducks. Dude, I can't even imagine. Yeah, one of these here attacking a duck, that would be terrifying. I don't know. Is there anything that you can do, duck, Like, what would you do? Because I'm kind of interested in it just to keep Dynor safe. Like, I don't think that hawk would make a strike on him, but looking at the size of that fucking thing, if he gets hungry enough, like, I don't want Dynor to be running around out there one day and get fucking swooped.
It says their wingspan's 3.5 to almost 5 feet.
Fuck. It's like a pterodactyl.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Dynor's too big, don't worry. I mean, hey, dude, you didn't just see that animal. You hear what fucking Amelia just said? 3.5 to 5 feet wingspan. Probably the same as me in wingspan, give or take. You thought about setting up nature cams in the yard? I could use that brick thing as a pretty cool platform to film this tree-lined area, which I know has got tons of wildlife in it. I mean, we just saw that. There's obviously little mice or rats or whatever. I couldn't tell what he had. It didn't look like a squirrel.
Yeah.
I didn't see the tail.
Mm-hmm.
The tail looked like a rat, so it might have been a rat. He might have just snatched a rat, or because it was big. It was bigger than a mouse. It wasn't a rabbit. So a rat or a gopher. Man, that was crazy. Man, you see how quick it happened too? We heard him. Flap, flap. Mm-hmm. Done. Poop, poop. Like, that's literally what it sounded like to us. It was like, whoop, whoop. And we both looked over there, and that animal was dead. Mm-hmm. Think about that shit, dude. Fuck. Nature is metal. Just because a hawk cannot pick up a bird does not mean they won't attack. My ducks are too heavy to be picked up, but they've right. Like, well, hawks know. Like, hawks know that they don't they don't necessarily have to carry away certain animals, that they can best certain animals. It's more than likely the hawks in your area, if they're attacking the ducks, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I know you're trying to fight these off, but I'm just saying if they're attacking your ducks, it's more than likely because they're starved of prey. Like, they're having trouble finding other prey. If they're going to risk going into a pen and fighting something that's the same size as them.
Like, I'm still reading, like, the same thing, like the silver streamers or whatever to reflect back at them.
Yeah. Dynor's like 30 pounds, though, right? At least 2 feet long. Yeah. I'm trying to give some assurance. Yeah, he's 30 pounds. Like, I'm just saying, though, but, like, they might attack him.
Hop on his back or something.
Yeah, it might attack him out there, and do some damage to him. So it's just fucking pretty scary. Like, that's the closest that I've seen that bird. I've looked at him out here a few times, and I remember watching him fly this way towards the horizon, and I was telling you guys, like, how fucking huge he was. Like, he was so far away, so far beyond the trees for reference, and he was still just so fucking huge in the sky that I was like, God damn. It's a monster bird. Yeah.
I got one big one off of him.
Dynor needs some armor. Yeah, well, dude, we'll get you a suit of armor, bro. I'm gonna get you like a spiked suit of armor. So if they try and fucking swoop you, they get stabbed. Anybody that tries to pet you gets stabbed.
Why won't you let me get that booty?
He's looking at me like, no.
Let me get that booty.
There are no eagles, I don't think, living near where I am. If there are, I know they're not indigenous to the area that I'm in. What I just saw was 110% a red-tailed hawk. They're pretty well distributed around the United States, but I grew up in an area that had red-tailed hawks. So I know when I see them. And that was a very, very big red-tailed hawk that is having a lot of successful hunting around this area. This area supports at least 3 predatory birds. Like 3 major, like, predatory birds that I know of. Oh, God, man. The boogie of doom, Dynor.
Got it.
That's better. Yeah, so there are 2 red-tailed hawks that I've seen. They actually were hunting together. I don't know if you saw the second one leave.
Yeah.
So they were actually hunting together. What I assume is the male, because if I'm not mistaken, male raptors are bigger than females. I may be wrong about that. I'm sexual dimorphism is different in birds, but the largest of the two hunting there's one of them there. See him? The largest of the two hunting birds we just saw here, and I've heard an owl at night several times. So the owl does not roost near here because I don't hear him or her enough. But we're definitely in the hunting grounds of a probably a barn owl or whatever the fuck lives around here. I don't know what owls are indigenous to this area. Man, that hawk is circling already. Fucking crazy. What a monster. I saw two owls fighting outside my window a while back. Why were they fighting? Maybe they were trying to get the same rabbit or some shit.
Or the same mate.
Yeah. Or yeah, maybe it was like courtship thing and you just took it as fighting.
I mean, they still fight over courtship.
Oh, do they? I don't know.
Most animals, the boys will go at it.
Oh. Well, yeah, I know that like mammals or whatever the fuck, but birds, I didn't know that. Well, I guess I know birds will swoop each other too. It makes sense.
I know like blue jays and cardinals will have fights with the littler ones.
There's definitely a scrub jay nest being set up in our little bush there. I watched a big old scrub jay fly in there with like what looked like a napkin or something that he'd found. Like he was carrying some big piece of paper. So they're definitely getting their nest ready right in that little bush, which is bad news for the bees, man. They're going to be getting clipped.
I mean, it'll be good. Like, we see all those gross gnats over there.
Yeah, all the little gnats. I mean, I'm surprised that we're not seeing more swooping on them right now. They're probably not worth much as a meal to birds that size. Gnats. Sorry, I'm just like taking in the nature today. That was crazy. Something like that happens. It just like fucking... I've had a few moments in my life where I've seen animals do things in the wild that have really left an impression on me. I've told you guys about some of them. Some of them don't seem all that amazing, but you kind of had to be there. One of them's pretty amazing. I saw a mountain lion with two cubs one time, which is actually very fucking dangerous situation to be in. I was walking what's called the Bob Jones Trail near Pismo Beach, California. There's a national or state park kind of trail that's maintained there that starts kind of like at the base of the mountain and winds its way up towards Avila Beach. And it's a mountain lion area. And I saw a mountain lion and her two cubs cross in front of us, close enough to see detail on them. So that was pretty fucking amazing. It was also amazing to turn around and walk the other way because there's no way. Like, dude, an animal like that and its cubs, like, you're not going to get mauled by a fucking mountain lion unless you don't respect one when you see it. And if I would have done anything other than moved in the opposite direction, because I know that mother mountain lion knew we were down there. And so she might have stopped and waited for us to go by, and I didn't want to go nowhere near where she was headed. So we turned around and left the trail that day. That hawk just feeding out here I've never seen that happen that close to me in my life. I've seen hawks take prey before, but I've never had it happen so close that I could just like see it. Just like, one time I was at, once again, I was at Pismo Beach. I had a real, like, I don't know how to describe it other than spiritual. And I'm not a very spiritual person, but it felt like kind of a spiritual moment. I like to go out into the ocean, especially when the sun's going down, and wait out till I'm about waist deep or chest deep and just kind of watch the water and watch the waves and kind of roll with the waves and stuff for a while. I like doing that. And so I was doing that. And I was looking out at the breakers, the big waves that were kind of further out, and I could see them better because I was a little ways offshore, and the sun was going down. And I watched this big breaker start to happen, and then all of a sudden, in the periphery of my vision over here, I noticed something, and I looked, and it was a pelican, and he was skimming the top of that breaker, just with his wings out. And he or she was right, maybe yay far over the top of this breaker as it was rolling over, and it was just following the line of the wave, just. And I thought to myself as I was watching that, there's probably not another human being on the planet Earth that witnessed what I just saw. It was like, for a second, I felt like that it was all for me in a kind of solipsistic way. But just that moment, I was like, there is no other human being on the planet Earth that was looking at the sunset and saw that beautiful bird just grazing the top of that beautiful, just breaking wave. It was awesome. Like I sat out there and got big tears in my eyes, and I just swam out. I knew that's what I came to see. I felt like I was supposed to be out there to see it. And that's not the type of thinking that usually drives me. I know in the rational part of my brain that I was not meant to be there, that I was not supposed to see that, but it gave me a strong feeling of connection, like I was meant to see that. I was and I really needed it too. It was at a time in my life where I was feeling very, very disconnected from people, from nature, from just who I was. I was just in a very bad place, having a very bad kind of mental run of things. And I needed that. I needed to see that. And I was there, and I was the human being that got to see it, the one human being that noticed it out of all of us on this planet. I was there to see that as it was, backlit by the beautiful peach sunset, just glistening off the water the way it was. It was like a fucking painting in motion. And so it felt real to me. It felt, and I allowed myself that conceit. And if you call that spiritual, then whatever. And you call that magical thinking, then whatever. But that conceit, that moment was one of the most important moments that I can remember involving animals, wildlife and shit of my life. And it was just a pelican, I've seen a pelican up close. Had a few close encounters with raccoons. They like to sit and stare at you, and it feels like an existential moment. Being looked at by a wild animal is a feeling unto itself.
You've been out here a long time.
You done, D?
You've been out here a long time. Let me get your water.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
When did this happen? Sounds amazing. The last LA meetup of DFF is when this happened. So after that meetup, I had a really good time at that meetup. But I also had a really hard time in LA. And I don't want to overshare because it's not a story that is mine to tell, but it was relationship problems, but really not. It was more just personal problems coming to a head. A crisis of, what would you call it? Like a crisis of honesty and truthfulness with the person that I was with. And it all just came to a head in a way that was really ugly. And I was lower than I'd been in a long time. And I was in LA, and I just felt, to be honest with you guys, I felt like just climbing one of the tall buildings and jumping off of it. I was at a real bad place. And we went from LA to Pismo Beach, rented a little hotel room there, and just spent some time on the beach. And fuck, man, if that hadn't come along, I don't know what I would have done. It was like I needed it. I needed to be reminded that the world didn't exist in here, you know, or something. Like that my problems and that the issues that were facing me were really not all encompassing. And that pelican and that moment and that little spot of the ocean did that for me. And it's not the first time I've had kind of like one of these moments, especially at that place. Hello, little scrub jay. You're adorable. Will you stay still so I can show people you? Look at you. Look at you. You like my wood pile? You a fan of my wood pile? Yeah, there's definitely like a nest going on. You like my wood pile? You're back on it again. I see you. You like my wood? Is this a Disney film or a stream? It's a little of both, man. Growing up in Cali, you must miss the beach. I mean, I didn't grow up on the beach. Cali's not one long beach, but I grew up like an hour from the beach, and yes, I do miss the beach. I like stargazing, yep. Question is, can you make the animals clean through your glorious singing? What? Thoughts on AOC? Get the fuck out. The UK denaturalized a citizen because she's a suspected terrorist, and now she has no legal country. This is against human rights. Thoughts? I mean, you kind of said it all. It seems like setting a person adrift in the world with no fucking place to be is against human rights. Like, where is this person supposed to go? AOC. I'm so yeah, dude. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of AOC. I'm sick of AO hearing about AOC. The Pelican was more interesting than AOC. Yeah, true that. No, it just came at a time in my life where I really needed to see that shit and really needed to hear that shit. So that's cool. Nature has a way of doing that with me. I don't know if I needed to see that hawk. It's funny how the most random things give hope. Yeah. Well, it's funny what's meaningful to one person is completely and utterly mundane to another, you know? You know, there are people that wouldn't be, you know, and I'm not saying they're wrong or broken fundamentally. It's just like they wouldn't even know that that happened. You know, they probably wouldn't even notice it or wouldn't care. Wouldn't notice the little birds that live in their backyard, wouldn't notice the little creatures that run around in their backyard, you know. Ever done much surfing? No. No, never was much of a surfer. In the 80s, there was a thing called a boogie board that was popular, and I did a lot of boogie boarding. Boogie boards were fun because you could just take them out and kind of surf. It's like body surfing aid. We'll let you get up on a wave, though. And so I've done a lot of boogie boarding, and that's fun. But I've never done surfing, really. Do you think it's weird that one day you'll pass away, but there will be hours of video of you forever? The idea of videos of me outlasting my life fills me with a slight sense of anxiety. No, I don't really care. I'm not going to be around to give a fuck about those videos, and they won't be there forever. If you want proof of that, go and look at like some of the first videos uploaded to YouTube and look at how much they've degraded in quality. There are some videos that are sitting on YouTube that have been there forever that are almost completely unintelligibly unwatchable now on modern screens and devices because they're so fucking low quality and so fucking old that, you know what I mean? So it's like eventually what I'm doing now will be that. It'll just be it'll just be like a, you know, a giant blob looking pixel. It's just like nothingness. And that's only like 15 years ago, man. So yeah, definitely not forever. You never know what could happen to YouTube either, right? Yeah, there's no guarantee that what's on YouTube now is on YouTube forever, you know? Crying won't help you. Praying will do you no good. Crying won't help you, and praying won't do you no good. Whatever. Do you think abortion should be encouraged at this point as a stopgap solution to continuous growth? No. Like the human race could walk into extinction with like a two-child policy. Like a global two-child policy would allow human beings to just kind of naturally go extinct. So there you go. That's the most humane way I can think of reducing the population without war or forced abortion or whatever the fuck. You institute a two-child policy, and after a while, it won't take long either, the population will start to shrink. And then, you know, we can lift the two-child policy if it reaches a level where, you know, that would be the most, like, humane way that I can think of to combat overpopulation as a human problem. What's your favorite bird? I don't know. First, remove the loophole with welfare so it will be easier to incentivize abortion or more thoughtful approaches to sexual interactions. Sure. Wouldn't babies end up in dumpsters though, like in China? No. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. Part of the reason why babies ended up in dumpsters and shit in China is because China is a horribly authoritarian government and people were fucking terrified of what would happen. It seems to me that the answer is that, you know, once you've had two children, you're sterilized. That seems to be like the most, like I said, it sounds invasive, but it's like what is your dream? To have 90 children? You have two children, and after that, we just make sure that you can't have any more children. If you violate the law, then, you know, I don't know what to do. Like, see, that's the problem with this type of shit, is like, what's the extreme end? So somebody hides and has 28 children. Like, what do you do to that person or those children? What happens if one of those kids die young, though? You had your shot at it, you know? I don't know what to tell you. Nobody's guaranteed a child forever, you know? Kids die, it sucks. Not to be incompassionate, but we should incentivize men to get vasectomies with money before they have kids. Sure, why not? Go ahead. I'm for it. It's not going to stop the problem, though. Like, unless you're incentivizing them with an insane amount of money. Maybe not insane, but it'd have to be a lot of fucking money. And then it would be seen as some sort of dystopian fucking Nazi sterilization campaign. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no way to do it. Like, the global two-child policy seems like it for me when it comes to, like, it's either that or we just overflow our fucking bounds to the point where we accelerate climate change and exacerbate it beyond functionality. And then there's a huge population crash due to war and famine. And that'll reduce the population, possibly to none. You know what I mean? So without a policy like this, we're careening towards that. So I see it as more humane to institute a global two-child policy, sterilize both people involved after they've had 2 children, you know, make it illegal to have children outside of the fucking process by which you register to have a kid, and that's that. I mean, this is notwithstanding some futuristic kind of technology or something that could effectively sterilize people that we all agree should not be having children, like fucking 14-year-olds, 12-year-olds. You know what I mean? To like make sure that there's something in place, not like to stop them from having sex, because clearly they're going to and are, but to stop them from reproducing. That alone would, you know, at least in some areas of the world, decrease the fucking population. What gives you the right? I didn't say I have the right. Number one, and what gives you the right to incessantly breed? That's the same thing that gives me the right to talk about how to stop your incessant breeding. I don't know. My dentist is a Trumper, but he believes in sterilizing everyone you told they can prove they can be parents. The issue I see that's more pertinent towards lack of resources and land is capitalism rather than just overpopulation in itself, because a lot of land and resources are hoarded by very few, yes. But you have to understand that part of what makes capitalism bad is the processes by which those resources are extracted and brought to market, and what kind of resources are extracted and brought to market. So that it requires a sea change. You know, what I'm talking about is fantastical, because it requires a sea change in the way that people think. And people are probably going to start talking like I'm talking now, but fucking like 10 years after it's fucking too late. Maybe it's already 10 years after it's too late. Maybe I'm that person now. But you'll start hearing this in about 10 years or 20 years when the climate crisis really starts to kick in. Like these storms start to get bigger, these polar vortexes start to get stronger and more fucking damaging and destructive. These weather events start to get more and more fucking insane. Like, just wait. Maybe in 20 years, people will be talking like this. Like, maybe we should, you know, mitigate some of this by not making so many humans. But right now, I'm looked at as a fucking loon for even insinuating that we should do this. Hey, baby. You look cute.
No.
You do.
No.
Can't believe people say you're a doomer if you bring it up. No, I don't know. When people truly realize we are on a path of complete annihilation, even then, unless it is so imminent they themselves are under immediate threat, I think we will not change. You're right. That's exactly what I'm describing. So we're talking about like how a global two-child policy could effectively be used at selective times for selective generations to control the population in a way that doesn't involve killing people. If you instituted a two-child policy, that would mean that no two people have the right to create more than two people. So just by the nature alone that some people are gay and will never procreate,
Yeah.
and some people are asexual and will never procreate, or some people are heterosexual but just don't want children, or some people are born infertile or have fertility problems or in accidents. Just by nature of those slight things on the margins of things right now, because people are breeding at a fucking insane rate, you know, that would alone shrink the fucking population, and then we could, you know, have it for so many years until the population gets under control and keep a population that is sustainable for humanity, in a way that's not like eugenics. It's not like, you know, showing up at your house and forced sterilization or whatever the fuck.
Hey, you know, you have your kid in the hospital, and then after.
Right. So the only thing that would have to come with it, there has to be some level of enforcement, because you can have a child at home.
Yeah.
So what's stopping you from having two kids and then having a third and a fourth and a fifth at home? And then what's the punishment for that?
Yeah.
So once it's discovered that you have 5 children, do you take 3 of them? Do you break up the family? Do you find the family? Because if you find the family, you're just taking food out of the mouths of the children.
I mean,
that's
honestly,
the problem.
That would be just like, you know, you gotta, all right, it's time to come in and get your snip or whatever.
Right. Like maybe that's when you're forced to be sterilized. Like nobody's forced to be sterilized as long as they adhere to the no more than 2 children rule. But if you're caught having fucking more than that, then your sentence is you go in and get snipped, and that's it. But you know, I don't know. It's a sticky thing, but I don't see any other way, because population control is going to have to be something that is addressed at some point. Like I agree with some of the people in the chat that I saw earlier that have brought up that, like, you know, given efficiency and shit, we could house probably double the amount of human beings that are on the planet now. But we're not living in that max efficiency.
Well, it's so unbalanced too. Like, you know, Africa has a way higher fertility rate than some European countries do.
Right.
So that's gonna get sticky.
Well, I mean, if it's global though.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Oh, right. Yeah. So you're saying, because yeah, you're right. Africa and Hispanic, in general, populations tend to have a higher fertility rate than other races. So what you're saying is white people and Asian people are going to go like, hey, we're being fucking systematically. Okay, so what we have to do is force everybody to fuck somebody that's not their race. We have to get the mocha blend. It has to happen now. So you can have as many kids as you want, but no racially pure children anymore. You got to mix it up. We got to get to mocha brown. Once we're at mocha brown, all that shit goes poof. You know what I mean?
No, I would just mean like it would be sticky to enforce globally, because it'd be like unfairly targeting like Africa or whatever.
Well, not only that, but other races too would be like, okay, a 2-child policy instituted amongst the Caucasian race because of the fertility rate difference in African people and Hispanic people. Dude, white people are going to fucking scream bloody murder. They're going to be like, wait a minute. We need 3 kids to make up for the fact that we're less fertile. Otherwise, you know, that's why we've just got to erase every race now. Mocha blend. We need the two. My friend Brian was of mixed heritage, half African American, half Caucasian, and he used to call himself a 2 cream 1 sugar mocha. That's what we need. 2 cream 1 sugar mocha blend worldwide. Oh, shit. Oh, damn. Hawk just flew by, being harried by a little bird chasing it away.
Oh.
That you hear that dee 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 dee. That was that little fucker chasing that hawk. Decaf. Man, these hawks are fucking out here today. These hawks are off the goop today.
You must be breeding or
They're
something.
wilding. Yeah, they're getting ready to breed probably, and they're getting all stocked up. Race killer Paul. I want to kill races. I just want to like make everyone one beautiful mocha blend. They're celebrating having representation in the Oval Office. I work in small business, 3 employees in an industry that doesn't have a specific trade union. How should we become unionized? Start our own, join a general union? Right. Okay. So in the case of your idea, right, you're a very small company, but what you do is done by other very small companies or large companies all over the United States. I can guarantee that you're not the only 3 people doing whatever it is you're doing. So either you're manufacturing, you're providing fucking technical support or phone support, or you're manning the phone banks for a company, or you're fucking building something. You're manning a restaurant. Whatever it is, there are other people doing exactly what it is you do. So I would say that in order to unionize your shop, you need to start reaching out to other people that do what you do, and the adjacent industries as well. So you might be a team of 3 people, but is there someone who delivers you goods that you turn into something else, whether it's tortillas to make into burritos or microchips to make into some specialty device or whatever it is? Somebody brings you some shit. You got delivery drivers. Somebody maintains your building. You got janitors. You know what I mean? This type of shit, all these adjacent positions, you include them and you send them out with the feelers as well.
Or you do a co-op if it's that small.
Well, I mean, they may not have the option to do a co-op.
Yeah.
It'd be like, our editors going like, "Hey, this is a co-op now." We'd be like, "No, it isn't. You're a fired op." You know what I mean? So it's like, small. You don't have that power. But if you unionize after you've already agitated with all of the other people that are adjacent, and then once you start looking at it, it all builds towards one big union. That's my idea. Is that there needs to be an umbrella union that covers anybody that trades their time for money, and does it appropriately. Now, I'm not saying they handle everything themselves. These locals will handle their own business, and the overarching organization is to make sure that part of the union dues are distributed towards strike preparedness, strike pay, and recruiting, and public cleanup and public projects. This shit has to be distributed properly. And so that's why I advocate for this one big union idea, because if you really look at labor, you're a 3-person company, right? Whatever you're doing, whether you're a 3-person company that cleans houses, like you're a 3-person team and you've got a small maid service that serves 20 houses or whatever, and you're getting a piece of that. There are other maid services in the country. There are other people that work in that concierge type of service, and that goes up through valets and shit, and that's one type of union. And then, the more you dig into blue collar work or general labor or just work in general, the more commonality that you see. It's actually reflective of the unionization process, because people that think they have nothing in common suddenly are brothers and sisters in the union and walking a line together, or putting their asses on the line for a contract together, or coming together and winning that contract and sharing in the benefits together. You see what I'm saying? So it's reflective of the actual action of a union, in that it brings together laborers from all disciplines and all walks of life, because unless there are very few people that are the singular, and they're the only company that's doing X, Y, or Z, and there's nothing adjacent. You know what I mean? I can't even really think of one. So that's a long form answer to your question, but hopefully you can pick out the relevant bits there. Start working with people that do your job. Start looking into if there's a union that covers your job. Non-union guys don't even understand how the union is the only reason they get decent pay. Right. Well, yeah, of course. Like, the labor movement in America provided a standard of living that was, before that, completely unattainable. So yes. Even though it has been weakened, its legacy was people make more now than they used to. Not everyone, but as a rule. I wish Paul could see how beautiful he is, dude. Trust me. I am privileged that I have two eyeballs so that I can peep the beauty that is around me and that I live with and that I share my space with. So I'm a withered raisin, but I still have eyeballs. Race and culture will dissolve simultaneously. But you're talking about something like, well, culture may never dissolve. See, here's the thing. We're talking about like far-flung fucking ideas here. So just get this out of your head if you think I'm saying that this is going to happen or that we're on the road to this. But let's just say, in a fucking hypothetically perfect world, we end up with something like what I advocate for, which is a one world government. So you're still going to have regional politics that have to be done under a one world government. You can't have everybody be represented by, this remote and detached group of people that have no idea what's going on in the local areas and shit. So there's still going to have to be some kind of distribution of community service and shit in a one world government. And a lot of it's going to have to be local. And that local power is going to have to speak towards the overarching governmental power. But a one world government would end war. It would end famine. It would end the idea of poverty, or would have at least the capacity to end regional poverty and exploitation, and would be capable of enacting global policies that would solve a lot of the problems that are facing us now. Not solve them, but mitigate them. Climate change, COVID-19, fucking collapsing economy, worker exploitation, habitat destruction, blah, 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 right? It would be absolutely and completely more capable of dealing with those regional problems as they crop up, or global problems as they crop up. So, in a one world government structure, China would have never been able to hide how virulent and dangerous COVID was, because it wanted to try and get it under wraps locally first. And so it lied to the international community about the numbers of people that were getting it and what was happening to the people that were getting it, because they thought, oh, we'll just get it under control. Well, they didn't. And it escaped China pretty quickly. And that would have never happened under a one world government. There would have been nobody to lie to. There would have been no face to save. It would literally be like, oh, there's a viral outbreak in this area. We need to contain it. Ground all the planes, cancel all the fucking flights for a few days until we figure out how far this thing has gone. Let's, or whatever needs to happen happens. And there's no like air company going, my profits, all that shit is nationalized. Like, the fact that we have air transit as a private fucking thing in this country is fucking absurd. Nationalize the airlines immediately. You guys watch that fucking video that we watched on the last Flash Friday of the plane falling apart in midair with a big flaming engine? Nationalize the whole travel industry immediately. but especially air travel. Nationalize it. Get rid of this fucking shit. This corner cutting garbage. What if there is... You're saying Neapolitan, but do you mean Napoleon-like figure who arises in this one world government and successfully does a military coup? What is the need for a military? Like, what is the need for a giant global military? Now, yeah, you'd have to have some kind of regional peacekeeping police officers or something. But what would be the need to keep a standing military if we're talking about a one world government? With free and open borders, free and open travel, and a guaranteed human bill of rights that extends to every regional government. What would be the need of it? That's a problem. It's like military coups are only possible because nations amass massive amounts of military power. Why do they do that? To launch it at other nations. Well, what if there are no other nations, just different regions of the globe under one global fucking government? Well, then there's no reason to amass military power anymore. Unless you can prove that the fucking aliens are coming or some shit. You know what I mean? You would have to have law enforcement and paramilitary forces to maintain this government monopoly on force. A coup can arise there. How? Under a structure that provides an overarching global government, but allows regional governments to preserve traditions and customs in those regional areas and give the people that live in those regional areas the power to vote on things that matter to their communities, right? I think it's important that people have some kind of say under this type of proposed governmental structure. But I just don't see it, man. This idea that like a coup's gonna arise. Like, what do you think? Like the West African zone is going to decide like, we are going to take everybody over. And then everybody else on the globe goes, no, you're not. And that's it. I mean, we have to maintain some kind of like baseline paramilitary force. But even then, like just control of weapons. Like if there was a global government, the control and distribution of weapons could be completely modernized, streamlined, and made to where, you know, weapons are fucking useless against, you know, other human beings. Except for in certain circumstances, you know, like emergency circumstances or whatever the fuck. Like they could make these, like we could modernize these fucking weapons, get rid of all the old shit. And modernize the idea of what a weapon is and modernize the idea of who gets it. You can make guns, though. Well, right now you can. Because there's no fucking global government to oversee the regulation of fucking 3D printing weapons and shit. So there's no real law that's stopping it. What I see is more likely than a coup is countries that wouldn't want to come under the fold of a global government once the idea is proposed. Well, yeah, like I said, that is... I preface this talk by saying that what we're talking about is pretty fucking... We're talking futurism, and it's pretty fantastical. We're talking about a hypothetical situation in which we had a global system of government. Getting from what we have now to there, hideous bloodshed. You know what I mean? Is really the only way I see it happening. Because you're absolutely right. Nobody's going to come on like willingly come under the hegemony of any other country. And I don't really think any of the countries that exist now would be capable of rationally taking over this type of business. So we're talking about, like, you know, a very messy process, to put it lightly. I'm just saying it would answer a lot of humanity's fucking problems. And you hardly hear anybody ever advocate for it. In fact, you hear people advocate against it constantly. Like, people just love nationalism, and it's tearing the fucking country apart. It's tearing the fucking globe apart. It's tearing the economy apart. It's tearing the fucking ecology apart. But everybody just loves it, you know. Everybody's afraid of this one world government idea. And in my mind, it just solves so many of our fucking dumbass problems. Like COVID, you know, for example. I mean, this is why, you know, in a lot of my talks that I've had with you guys, I go to this far future AI kind of place, right? Because I really see an AI as being capable of doing what I'm talking about in a way that was immediate and rational and fair for all, if it was designed in the right way. And it would have to be an AI that, you know, I've talked about this being, I think, the most important thing about the idea of a global governing AI. It has to feel, it has to know, and we have to know that it is a symbiote with us. It cannot feel anything, but we cannot feel as if it's detached from us, and it cannot feel as if it's detached from us. It has to at least be programmed to know that it is intrinsic as a part of us. We made it to be part of us. An AI could make these snap decisions that have to be made to save lives. It could functionally control all law enforcement. It could make absolutely a thing of the past the need to have a weapon ever, and could provide a path for us to something like a Star Trek-esque universe. Maybe not actually getting warp drive or anything, because that may be, like, impossible. Like, there are theories as to how we might break Einstein's law of relativity and actually functionally get to other galaxies. But as of right now, unattainable. But maybe an AI makes that attainable. Because an AI is not just going to be handling governance. Think about this, guys. I want to just really think about it, because, like I said, not going to happen. But think about the benefit, right? An AI is going to be handling problems of governance. An AI would be able to handle the entire judicial system. So if somebody does you wrong, you take your petition to the AI. The AI knows what happened. There's no need to present evidence. Or when the evidence is presented, the AI knows how to process it without bias. There's no need for this fucking, you know, like, I understand the jury of your peers court system that we have, at least here in the United States, is vastly superior to the kangaroo courts and frontier justice of the past, okay? But it's fucking horribly flawed. Clearly, horribly, intrinsically flawed. And AI would know how to fix that. An AI would know how to prevent that from happening. An AI would know how to keep human bias from creeping into sentencing and from creeping into fucking ruling against or for someone. It would be able to make the most logical decision to mitigate the damage that was done by the parties. So the judicial system turned over to the AI. What about if you just need somebody to talk to? See, this is starting to get into, like, movie territory, but that Joaquin Phoenix movie, Her, where he falls in love with an AI assistant. Also popped up in Blade Runner 2040, whatever the fuck.
2049?
Yeah. You know, he's kind of in love with his AI.
I'm okay.
No.
Stretching.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. 205674. An AI on the level you're describing likely exists. The governments foreign or here at home are decades ahead of us. We don't get access to any of that tech. It's being used for other things. You're probably right, yes. I mean, maybe not like what I'm talking about here, but certainly AIs are not going to be like the birth of AI may end us, and maybe AI is the thing. Like maybe AI is the great filter. We were talking about the great filter a couple of shows ago. The idea that the reason that there's no proof of extraterrestrials, we haven't found them, that there's no sign of them, that despite us looking and scientifically watching for them, there just seems to be no them. The reason for that is that there's some kind of technological filter that stops us from progressing to that point. Whether it's some kind of technology that we discover, a lot of theorists say that this might be, you know, the nukes, nuclear power, nuclear physics, and maybe it's AI. Maybe it's the development of thinking war machines and atomic weaponry. Maybe that's the great filter. The Reapers, yeah. Maybe it's the Reapers. The Great Silence is similar, yeah. Well, that's one of the things. It's like, we've had these, theoretically, if the universe or the Milky Way was as teeming with life as some people theorize that it is, right? We should be able to, then we should have made contact long ago, assuming a straight line towards interstellar travel is attainable. But that's what the great filter idea is about. It's saying that before any of these species that do exist ever attain the ability to broadcast anything other than locally, or move anywhere other than within their local, solar system, then they discover something that they think is going to push them beyond that actually destroys them or sets them back to a time, pre-technological time, and or destroys them utterly. If space is infinite, wouldn't there have to be a sieve that doesn't hit the filter eventually? Yeah, but if space is infinite, who's to say that sieve will ever reach us? The great filter doesn't necessarily have to catch every civilization. It just has to catch most of them in order to really keep us apart from one another. Because you're right. If, space is theoretically infinite, and the Milky Way galaxy is just a winking star in a sky filled with galaxies, then yeah, maybe there are a couple of fucking civilizations that slip through that. But are they going to travel to our fucking little neck of the woods? The chance is pretty low, unless there's some great filter out there, or unless there's not a great filter out there. You know what I mean? If there wasn't something stopping all these theorized millions or possibly billions of advanced civilizations that exist in the universe, then we would have met them. They would be here. There would be something in our local fucking area, and they would have mastered some level of technology that allowed them to travel long enough to find us or hear us, or we would hear them. Physics prevents us from reaching any galaxy ever. They're moving too fast to catch up to without FTL tech or reliable wormhole use. Well, that's right. Like what we know about physics right now prevents us from doing it. Right? technological position in physics prevents us from doing it. That doesn't preclude the idea that we come to understand physics on some deeper level. And there are a lot of different, and I'll get to your super chat here in a second, bud. There are a lot of different, theories that are emergent about physics and string theory and cosmic foam theory and the Great Crunch and all of this shit, right? So there's a lot of these physics theories that may bear fruit and may change, maybe not supersede or break Einstein's laws, but allow us to circumvent them. Anyway, super chat. What if our planet is under quarantine by an alien alliance because we haven't evolved out of our infancy stage? Filter could be artificial. Maybe. You're right about that. The Great Filter might just be something like we've theorized with Star Trek, like the Prime Directive or some shit. Like maybe we aren't alone in the galaxy, but we're being left alone to see if we can ascend beyond our barbaric kind of war stage and come together as a species. And then we'll be approached, right? How do you think things would go if we discovered another planet with life via radio and communications are open between us? What if we both lacked FTL technology and we just talked for a long time? I mean, that would be, it'd be pretty fucking amazing, right? I mean, that was kind of what was insinuated in the movie Contact, although it goes a little further. But say we do pick up some kind of obviously rhythmic kind of radio signal that we can pinpoint that's coming from some kind of distant star, right? And now you have to understand that if it's some kind of radio signal, it's going to take 1,000,000 fucking years for anything that we broadcast directly at it to reach it. So establishing an open line of communication kind of ain't it when it comes to our standard fucking modes of communication. It's like, we send a message to some of the probes that are out further out in our own solar system, and it can take like 2 days for the command to get there. You know what I mean? Like, or longer. So think about that, but a star that's fucking like 82 light years away. It's like, okay, well, yeah, our radio signals can only reach a certain distance. So more likely than not, like that's the way that movie, once again, I keep bringing up this movie Contact, but it's an interesting film based on a story written by Carl Sagan. And it is, we come to understand that the message is hidden with different layers and has a visual element to it. And it is a blueprint for some sort of technology. And in that movie, they take it to the extreme of it's a blueprint to build basically a wormhole generator that allows us to go visit them. And, more likely it would be, here's the blueprint to build the machine that you need to send a message back to us. Here's how you break this, Einstein's law of physics and get us a faster than light message. People talk about cyberpunk with computer technology dominating our way of life. What about plant punk and the signals being sent from one fungi to another? Yeah, I know. I mean, hey, once again, fungal intelligence is an emergent, academic, esoteric academic study that's becoming more and more, it's bearing more and more fruit. Like, just the way that we understand intelligence is changing right now. We're living at a time now where we're going through a pretty monumental shift. Nobody really notices it because Once again, science takes time to creep down to the masses, but there's a monumental shift in the scientific community that studies things like consciousness and intelligence in what we consider intelligence to be. And a lot of that has to do with fungal intelligence, is what it's being called. And, this idea that fungi can do incredibly complex tasks without what we deem to be necessary to do these complex tasks, which is this big complex brain that we have. Fungi don't have that. And yet certain slime molds are capable of building, mapping out better subway systems. Like that happened in Tokyo, I think. There's a study done where they took a slime mold and they built this kind of scale replica of Tokyo and put waters at various stop points. And the slime mold seeks out water in order to replicate and grow. And when it was done moving through this Tokyo they designed, it had created a more functional subway system and transit system for Tokyo than Tokyo had. And you look at that and you go like, well, yeah, but it wasn't trying to do that. Well, yeah, it was. It was trying to find the absolutely most fucking logical way to replicate itself just enough to get to a water source. And you're telling me that that's not the same as a human being going like, what's the most logical way to get a subway from this part of town to that part of town? It is. Paul Stamets is the guy to listen to about mycology. I'll look him up, honestly, because I'm really interested in this, and I would like to have some more talking points about it, because I've been using the same fucking slime mold designing things talking point for fucking ever. The assumptions that we would have heard something by now equals no life out there is a faulty one. For all we know, extraterrestrials could have visited millions of years ago and left shortly after. Right, but what we're talking about is the posited amount, right? So the Fermi paradox and what's the other one that we're talking about? Where it goes like, okay, we've identified X amount of Earth-like planets, so we can extrapolate from how many that we can see that there are X more amount of Earth-like planets just in the Milky Way galaxy, and then we extend that to all the other galaxies that we know about, and you start to get into the realm of trillions of planets, and on those trillions of planets, on a few billion of them, life will evolve. And on a few million of those billion planets, or maybe a couple billion of those billion planets, life will evolve into a complex enough form that would constitute what we call intelligence. And this has been going on and on and on and on. This is all theory. We don't know that. For all, it could very well be that we are alone in the galaxy, although I think that that's a pretty myopic way of thinking about it. When you understand that there are trillions of planets like this planet that can be theoretically fucking extrapolated, then to think that only one of them ever, had fucking multicellular life develop on it is ridiculous. So, the theory is that there wouldn't just be like one alien race that visited here a million years ago and then was like, well, nothing going on here. Let's get out of here, boys. There would be millions and possibly billions of alien races doing that. And so the idea is that if there isn't some kind of fucking filter stopping the technological advancement of these civilizations, then we should be part of some kind of fucking alien superhighway. Like, we should be surrounded by different aliens. We should be living in a multi-fucking planetary culture. Just within the fucking Milky Way galaxy alone. That's leaving out all the other galaxies, right? So the idea of the Great Filter is, well, if that's the case, then there must be something that stops technology from developing past a certain point. And the only thing that they can theorize that is some sort of technology that ends up backfiring in some way. in a way that halts the progress of that species. The great filter. Like, and what that assumes is there's some fucking secret about the universe that eventually, through technological advancement, every species discovers, and that manipulation of that unknown energy source or fact about the universe is what leads to that species just being destroyed or being set back technologically. Right. I mean, like bees are another example of an animal, and ants as well. Colony insects in general are an example of creatures that display profound intelligence, build profoundly unbelievable structures. Some ant colonies cover like square miles of underground, intricately designed underground tunnels. Ants farm fungus. I mean, there's like all kinds of intelligence going on. We just don't understand. It doesn't operate on the same level as ours, and so we dismiss it as not intelligent. Because ants don't build fucking TVs. They just build giant, sprawling underground complexes that are unlike anything that a human being could build to scale. You know. Isn't the classic filter nuclear weapons? Well, that's, yeah. I mean, the great filter could be any number of things, but yes, it's theorized that it could be nukes. It could be the understanding and harnessing of nuclear energy, or it could be something beyond that. Maybe the great filter is a number of filters. I've heard it described as such. Like the idea that there's one thing could be flawed thinking. Maybe it's the discovery of nukes, and then, some species are wiped out there. Some species can never progress past their nuclear age, and they destroy themselves. But some do, and they progress to the next level of technological advancement, and that destroys them. And then there's a third maybe level of knowledge beyond our nuclear harnessing that allows certain species to really start exploiting the universe in a new and interesting way, and that destroys them. You know what I mean? And that becomes the barrier. Maybe that's the ultimate great filter, but through those three theorized things that we talked about, all these societies are wiped out before they get to this or that. I like the thought of a more physical multiverse. For example, eventually, if space is infinite, there would have to be the exact circumstances that created us again. And there's another you right now. Right. I mean, fucking multiverse theory is one of those brain melters, dude. I can't even pretend to sit here and have a cogent. I mean, the conversation that I'm having right now is probably not all that cogent when it comes to actually, accurately describing things. So when you're talking about multiverse theory and shit, that fucking thing bakes my noodle more than pretty much anything. Like, multiverse theory is crazy and maybe the truth. The idea that there's a way to experience life fourth dimensionally is an interesting idea, where time and space become a single point. They become one from your vantage point. And so, you would exist outside of time and be able to observe it as it moved like a snake. Dude, mind melters, bro. Mind melters. I don't know, man. The nature of reality is one of those things that, like, it's fun to think about, and it's fun to theorize about, and I think it's like actually revealing that a conversation that started about a hypothetical futuristic government ended in this existential conversation about the nature of reality. But it really all is tied together. I like this way better than politics. Yeah, well, you know, my knowledge on this type of shit is unfortunately somewhat limited. But you know, I like talking about the shit. That's for sure. But I can't. I couldn't run a show called "Whoa, man, fucking crazy shit from a stoner, bro." You know, balls deep. Yeah. Do you know about the dark jungle theory? It outlines that there is likely an advanced alien species or multiple that haven't set their sights on our planet because they haven't seen our signals. Oh. So the idea that there are these species out there that can do this in interstellar travel, but they're predatory and they're hunting us. The dark jungle theory. Oh, fuck me, bro. Don't even start me down that, man. I don't even want. Dude. And our stupid asses are fucking like broadcasting to them. We're like, hey, come eat us. We were horseback a little over 100 years ago. We can now travel at Mach 3 in a plane, go to the moon. There are life forms a million years ahead of us and a million years behind us. Maybe even further than that, Tommy, but you're right. That's kind of what we're talking about, the great filter. This idea that if there were a lot of these civilizations that were, a million, 2 million, 10 million years ahead of us, that we should be like living in an interstellar fucking superhighway. We should have met multiple alien species by now. Assuming there's not some overarching protocol stopping the species from, some kind of overarching intergalactic government with a prime directive that says, hey, until a species reaches a certain level of technology, we don't intercede, or unless they just haven't found us yet. They're out there like spiders waiting for our fucking radio signal to tickle their web. They're like, and then all of a sudden, like, what was the first thing we broadcast? All of a sudden they hear fucking Edison's first phone call, and they're like, and then they start hearing like all the fucking radio signals from Earth coming through, and they just start zeroing in on us. We're like, oh fuck. Yeah, that's why nobody's talking, dude. Nobody's talking because we're being hunted. They show up one day and every plant on Earth dies, the light goes dim, and everyone starts dying painfully all at once. Yeah. Yeah, their ships just blot out the sun and they just start raining these pods down out of them, and some fucking horrifying thing skitters out and just harvests all of us and starts processing our whole fucking planet, sucking every bit of fucking resource out of it and transporting it back up to the ships, and then they just go back into the darkness to hide and all shut down until the next fucking signal. They're like trapdoor spiders, dude. Oh, fuck me. They're like trapdoor spiders. They live in the fucking deep, dark reaches of space and shit between galaxies. And they're just sitting there on their webs, just like... Fuck me. We're doomed. I mean, colliding with asteroids and other physical objects is something that you would assume that if you had something that could push you towards the speed of light, that you would have worked out. But yes, you know, the idea that space is filled with chunks of matter, right? It's kind of floating out there, and that any spaceship trying to make a beeline from one star to the next is going to pass through those things, and if they're traveling at sufficient speed, might not be able to change course fast enough to miss those things, necessitates, you know, you designing your travel around that somehow. I always think about that when playing Elite. Yeah. Well, Elite, you know, you're traveling through like a little wormhole in Elite, right? And you're using this jump drive, this frame shift drive. Frame shift is the MacGuffin technology. Oh my God, here they are. They're hunting. Sorry, I have to stop and watch the hawks. Fuck. Crazy. So yeah, in Elite Dangerous, there's the MacGuffin is a frame shift drive that allows you to travel faster than light. Should become a falconer. No, thank you. I'll just look. Paul, I'm going to bed. Can you sing me a lullaby? The cosmic spiders are skittering closer, skittering closer, skittering closer. The cosmic spiders are skittering closer, they will eat us all. Soon they'll be here chewing on your bones, chewing on your bones, chewing on your bones. Soon they'll be here chewing on your bones. It will hurt a lot. There's nothing you can do to stop their eventual eating of you. He's sleeping. Shh. That did it. Works every time, man. My favorite lullaby, my mom sang that to me every night. Man, I'll never forget those words, man. The comforting knowledge that the cosmic spiders are skittering closer, man. I'm pretty sure your mom's probably saying you the same shit. I mean, it's got to be pretty widespread. I don't think, you know. Is that before or after the union meetings? Yeah, I don't know. Her mom learned it from the cosmic spiders, yeah. Dude, think about that. I just want to explore this more, right? There are alien species out there, and they have evolved into being, as you would think that they would. Nature, as we can observe it here on the planet Earth, is a constant fucking war. It's an arms race. Constant arms race, right? Well, if we extrapolate out that evolution works the same way on these other planets, then the arms race is going to lead to whatever's the best and most efficient hunter, right? So maybe what's happened is that all these other fucking things, the great filter is these trapdoor spider-like aliens. and they've evolved to be incredibly energy efficient, right? So at some point in their history, they developed the technology to travel faster than light, to circumvent that, or to do so under very little power. And what they do is they sit in the deep, dark reaches of space, maybe sending out little probelings every once in a while, but for the most part, remaining dormant and conserving their energy, right, from their last feed. So they process an entire planet of all of its material and then take it all to the deep of space and save it, right? Start processing it slowly, but just save it. Store it all up, store all that fucking energy up, right? And then they just wait, just completely still. Maybe even shut down. Maybe they just go into like a stasis or something. Like, and then when a signal from one of these planets fucking hits them, they immediately use all of that energy to just like rocket towards that planet and just strip it. Eviscerate everything on it, process it in the most efficient way possible, strip it of anything that it has, and then just goes to another dark area of space and shuts down and saves all that energy. You're not the cosmic spiders. What's the movie called? I mean, it's very similar in theme to the idea of the Reapers, which have been brought up multiple times. My idea is not far off from the idea of the Reapers in Mass Effect. The Reapers in Mass Effect are a hypothesized machine race. So in Mass Effect, the hypothesis is that the cosmic trapdoor spiders are in fact just machines. Like a race of beings that have evolved to just be machines. And they conserve energy by laying dormant and sending out little, like one of them every once in a while to scour the galaxy. And they wait for the galaxy to become teeming with life again. And then they descend from the dark area of space to harvest that life and all of the fruits of that life. And then they go back into the darkness and wait another fucking 2-3 millennia. That's the Reapers in Mass Effect lore. They're just giant machines that harvest the cycle of life. They wait until life reaches a certain point, and in fact give infrastructure so that life like congregates. So like in Mass Effect, the storyline is kind of like this, right? Humanity starts to explore Mars thoroughly, and they find alien technology there. Proof of alien technology, and they're able to bring it back and study it, and it leads to a new understanding that gives humanity a giant leap forward. And then not long after that, humanity discovers the first Stargate or Jump Gate or whatever it is in the Mass Effect universe. And that leads to a central area with this big, I can't remember what is it, somebody that's like played Mass Effect more recently than me. What is the big ship called? It leads to an area where all of these alien races eventually land, and you're introduced as a species to the galactic government or whatever, right? And it's around this time, once the species start discovering their stargates and congregating and creating a universe filled and teeming with life, that the Reapers come online. The Citadel, thank you. So there's this ancient technological miracle called the Citadel, where the seat of governance for the entire alien federation sits in the Mass Effect universe. And they don't know where the Citadel came from. There's this posited race that came before them called the Protheans, and they find these Prothean relics, and they think that there was some other, and that's what they all think. This is some ancient extinct race. We found the Citadel, which is this giant ship, basically, big giant space station. and we populate it now. Well, it turns out the Citadel is a trap. The Citadel is a trap so that the heads of government can be cut off all at once by the Reapers, and then in the ensuing chaos, the Reapers can descend from the dark parts of space where they've been sitting cold and silent for millennia and harvest all of the life. Destroy it all and harvest it and feed upon it and set everything back and leave just enough so that it happens again. And then they go back to the cold dark of space. So it's basically, my idea is basically ripped directly off of that. I really liked the thematic cycle where it turns out the Reapers were initially created just like the Geth, right? So eventually, like, some species created this AI that went rogue and became its own species. It became a different type of life, non-organic kind of life. And it became the most efficient hunter, killer, predator that it could be by farming us, basically, farming other organic life, allowing it to grow to a certain point, and then allowing its growth to that certain point to send the signal out, unbeknownst to the species that discover the Citadel and shit, to the Reapers to reactivate and come and harvest. We are Legion. Yeah, I really loved the first two Mass Effect games. The third one is okay. Especially the first. I really loved the first Mass Effect, and the thematic elements of it are really good. Anyway, I probably have to end this. So we're going to go have dinner. So thanks for chilling. It was kind of fun. We had a little stonery technology episode. Gotta go. Bye.